By now, you've probably heard that our Newsbeat family has grown. Earlier this week, the Newsbeat's Ruth Spencer gave birth to a girl. But what you might not have heard is how that birth was a very close call. In fact, Ruth's special delivery looked like one of the storylines from ER. The feature performers were little Amy, Ruth, and her husband Jerry. But the real stars of this production were the doctors, nurses, and technicians at Sinai Hospital's Berry Health Center in Farmington Hills.
Everything was fine, and nothing ever went awry. I was beginning to think I was having the most perfect pregnancy on record. And then at the end, everything changed. We started getting into the high blood pressure problem, which is the preeclampsia. Finally, they put me on total bed rest. And then everything changed on the due date when we went for the doctor's appointment.
Ruth came in for a normal visit, and I placed her on the monitor.
And fairly soon afterwards, the baby's heart tone started dropping down into a low range. At that point, you need to, if the tones aren't coming to a normal rate, get the baby delivered. And, an interesting proposition out there, since we had yet to do a delivery at the surgery center.
That's when Dr. Bronstein said, I have two choices. I can send you by ambulance to Sinai for emergency C-section, or we can do it here in the little outpatient surgery center we have in the basement of this building. And he said, as a matter of fact, that is what we're going to do. And I was pretty shocked. I was pretty shocked.
They took us down the elevator. They said to me, you go sit over there. We're taking her. We don't have any time or room to maneuver here, and that's what I did.
Ruth was brought downstairs in a wheelchair. Hi, Ruth. We're going to have you get up on the table now. She was brought over to the bed and put on the bed.
The staff members there were really in a hubbub. I mean, they were moving fast and furiously.
We got her on the table, and everybody was preparing the packs that are needed to do the procedure, and I started her IV and just try to make her comfortable.
Ruth, I want you to think about real pleasant things right now. You're going to be falling asleep in just a few seconds, and when you wake up, you're going to have a beautiful new baby. As soon as she was ready and the surgeon was ready to operate, we put her to sleep with a intravenous agent through the IV, and that occurs actually within seconds. Again, within a short period of time, inserted a breathing tube. As soon as that was done, the surgeon was signaled to proceed with the operation.
I just know that my wife has a lot of faith in God.
I woke up, and there was my husband and the nurse, I think Nancy, and some other people saying, oh, you have a beautiful daughter. Let's wake up a little bit. Can you wake up a little bit? Can you say hi to folks? Can you wake up and say hi to everybody? I think we could have had a different outcome, and had they not moved as fast as they moved and as efficiently as they moved.
This could have been an episode that passed. We could have had a lot worse results when she finally did come in for an evaluation. So I think the key thing is we don't have to find out about that.
From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for saving my daughter.
Well, here they are again, Monday's heroes. We simply didn't have the time to give each person's name and title, but needless to say, everyone here at the Newsbeat echoes Ruth's heartfelt thank you for an award-winning performance.
If you ever again plan to ride in a car, any car, it doesn't matter what kind of car, then this next story can affect you.
There's a hidden danger with seatbelts, especially for women, and Catherine Bliss is here to show us. Catherine.
Lester and Carol, it happens almost every day. It's called seatbelt trauma, and the reason you may not hear about it is people usually die from it. Tonight, the story of a St. Louis woman who survived the ordeal and how she wants to change the way we buckle up. One warning, however, some of the pictures in this story are very graphic. A morning walk to the mailbox is nothing short of a medical miracle for Ali Freedy. You see, this 22-year-old college student survived more than just a horrible car accident.
July 13th, 1997. I'll never forget it.
On that July day, the Freedies, Mom, Dad, Allie, and brother Jason, were heading back home from vacation. They made their trip in a 3-car caravan. Jason would drive the family's Ford Explorer with Allie in the passenger seat, both buckled up. And that's when this unbelievable story takes a turn no one could have ever imagined.
My mom was in the front, and then my brother and I, and then my dad behind us.
I had passed an 18-wheeler. I don't know why, you know, I glanced in my rearview mirror and Jason swerved suddenly as if to try to avoid something that was obvious. I remember them rolling. They looked like little rag dolls in a Tonka truck.
The next thing I remember was somebody pulling me out of the truck, and it was my dad, and I heard him say, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I can't breathe."
Allie was in very critical condition and needed to be removed from the scene.
A medical helicopter transported Allie to the trauma center at the University of Missouri in Columbia. There, Dr. Michael Metzler and his team worked frantically to save her. They didn't have much time. She suffered severe internal injuries in the crash.
She had injuries to her intestines and also to her abdominal wall, where she lost a large portion of her abdominal wall.
Incredibly, the injuries that nearly took Allie's life were not caused by the accident, but by the very thing designed to save her life, her seatbelt.
I don't think it was for a while that I actually knew that I had abdominal seatbelt trauma. I just remember thinking, I had my seatbelt on. You know, it saved my life. How can it hurt me? You know, I was just dumbfounded.
We see 3 or 4 of these severe type injuries a year, and they're usually due to the seatbelt riding up and the patient being restrained by the soft tissues of their body rather than by the bones of their body.
The seatbelt left Allie's body badly broken. She had no abdominal wall and a large hole in her side.
The magnitude of the injury is truly remarkable.
And so too is what Allie's body has had to endure. 18 surgeries by doctors like plastic surgeon David Kaplan, who worked to place tissue and mesh over her stomach and intestines. In short, to keep those vital organs inside her body.
The initial care she got clearly is what saved her life.
If any good can come from the Freedies' horrific experience, it's letting others know the right way to wear a seatbelt. First of all, wear it snug. Secondly, wear it right, meaning against the shoulder, away from the neck. And thirdly, wear it low, away from the stomach, against the hips.
But I want to make them also aware that you can't just push it down there and okay, you're fine. 5 minutes later, it's going to be right back up. So you have to keep on pushing it down continuously.
And that life-saving lesson has become a personal crusade for this future school teacher. Her own ordeal isn't over yet. She's due for more major surgery later this month.
Right now I have 3 tissue expanders in that are stretching out my skin and tissue.
That skin and tissue will be pulled over her abdomen along with a flat muscle transplanted from her back. With that, doctors hope to rebuild Allie's body and hopefully her chance of a normal life.
Okay, you give me a problem with just 1 digit.
Something that includes teaching young children and maybe having some of her own someday. But that possibility rests in the hands of her doctors.
The goal is to create a functional abdominal wall. It would be wonderful to give her enough support that she might be able to consider pregnancy at some point in the future.
For now, though, Allie wants to get her message about seatbelt safety out. Buckle up, but just do it the right way. Lester and Carol.
I'm struck by the fact that I have never heard about this. Is there a reason?
Well, I think part of the problem might be, even though it happens in maybe cities across the country every day, nobody's tracking this, no national organization. On top of which, often when people die of this, it's just considered dying of internal injuries. So that may be part of the issue.
Because we do hear that phrase.
Yes, we do. But we also want to get into the fact that she is hoping to change the actual design of seatbelts, and tomorrow night at 4:30 we'll follow up with that part of the story and also what the auto industry thinks of that idea. They have an interesting reaction to her proposal.
All right, Catherine, thanks very much.
So you think Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is from the North Pole?
Wrong-o. Try the North Suburbs instead. The writer who created him exactly 60 years ago was Robert L. May, and he was a Chicago original.
'Twas the day before Christmas, and all through the hills the reindeer were playing, enjoying their spills.
We all know the story of Rudolph. Just because his nose glows, he doesn't fit in. But do you recall Martha May and Betsy Decker are sisters to the most famous reindeer of all? Their dad, Robert L. May, a Chicago copywriter, penned the 1939 Montgomery Ward store handout that went down in history. And this is the house that Rudolph built. His popularity paid for this Evanston home where Martha and Betsy grew up.
Growing up, we had a life-size reindeer on the lawn of our house.
The kids on the lawn with the deer, them ringing the doorbell asking if he'd come outside and pose with him.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer.
They shouted out with glee 10 years later when singing cowboy Gene Autry recorded this hit song.
You would even say it glows.
That's when it really took off. Yeah.
1949.
The song propelled Rudolph to superstardom. Toys, snow globes. Martha and Betsy even spent one Christmas helping Dad sign special copies of his book.
He signed the inserts, so there was pretty much of an assembly line between the three of us. The insert sheet, and we'd pass it along. He'd sign it, then flip it, put it into the book.
Stop calling me names! Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer!
Then one foggy Christmas Eve in 1964, Rudolph became a TV star.
The TV show, which started on my 6th birthday, I'll always remember that.
I remember us all in the basement of the house at Hamlin, just huddled together and watching. It was like magic.
And now, well, Robert May is gone, but the family hopes grandkids, Kristen and Eric, can keep the magic of Rudolph alive.
As long as Santa's still flying every Christmas Eve, Rudolph will be there.
Thanks to a story still relevant to yet another generation.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Happy holidays, folks, wherever you may be.
Rudolph has even gone Ivy League. The family donated that reindeer you saw in that old photo from the family's lawn to Robert May's alma mater, Dartmouth College. Tonight, for the 35th year, CBS 2 Chicago will air that popular Rudolph cartoon. It's on at 7 o'clock.